the best oud fragrances. So oud has slowly become one of my favorite notes just because I enjoy musky, woodsy types of notes, and that's exactly what oud is. So really intense, nice note. In terms of oud fragrances, I have a small list here. And as always, everything I mentioned will be available in the Amazon associate links down in the description below. I'm going to start with my number one favorite oud fragrance, which is Oud Satin Mood. I think this is just phenomenal, wonderful to smell. It is a unisex fragrance, a little bit more on the feminine side, but still pretty unisex. Really nice mixture of oud with Turkish rose. And I mean, there's some other notes thrown in there, but those two main notes are just perfect together because oud obviously is a very heavy, intense, musky note. On its own, it can be a little bit overpowering for some, but when you mix it with that rose note, which of course is smoother, a little bit sweeter, more light and natural, perfect blend. They just complement each other perfectly. It's not too strong, not too weak. Together, just combining the two of them into this overall fragrance creates a very long-lasting fragrance, actually. I would say minimum 8 hours of longevity. Very, very powerful. Not in an obnoxious way, though. It's actually long-lasting in a more subtle way. Not to say that it doesn't have good projection, because it has really good projection, but it's just not like, it's not a clubbing fragrance. It's not Versace Eros levels of just strength. It's a very elegant type of fragrance. Very, very much like this is something to wear when you're going somewhere nice, to dinner or just out for the evening. A very, very sophisticated type of fragrance. Now, it is very expensive to reflect that fact, but the smell alone is absolutely worth it. Now, moving on from Oud Satin Mood, I do also have to mention one that I'm a big fan of, which is Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud. Combining my two favorite notes. I love tobacco notes, and I love oud. So, combining them, you get a very, very strong and intense type of fragrance. Definitely not for everybody. If you're not a big fan of either tobacco nor oud, you will probably not enjoy Tobacco Oud. But I really enjoy it. I think it's just a very powerful, intense, very seductive type of fragrance. Definitely more on the masculine side, but I would say it's a really good unisex option as well. Great longevity, 8 hours minimum. I mean, anything with oud is going to be long-lasting just because oud is so strong on its own. Good projection. One of those fragrances where you only need to put on a little bit to get the desired effect. If you put on too much, you're going to give yourself and people around you a headache. Very, very pleasant to smell, though, in the right concentrations. Smoky, warm, really good for cold weather or evening, when you're going out for the evening. More formal occasions as well. Just a very sexy, seductive type of fragrance. Now, if you're not a big fan of tobacco, but you still like oud, I would say that another good option is Creed Royal Oud. So, Royal Oud is more of, I would say, a purist type of fragrance in terms of its oud notes, because you really get the full-on oud with this Creed option. Very woodsy. I would say the woodsiness stands out the most with this particular fragrance. Very woodsy, a little bit cold, a little bit warm. It's kind of hard to explain. It always reminds me of like an old writing desk, if you've ever gone to like an antique shop and there's like an old like mahogany desk or something. It's like 150 years old. It has that certain musky woodsiness, That's kind of what Royal Oud smells like. It has that antique, classic woodsiness. Very pleasant. Again, not for everyone because of its unusual intensity, but very, very pleasant if you do like that sort of thing. And very strong. Not as strong as some of the other ones. I would say maybe 7 hours of longevity, maybe even 6, but still pretty intense. Good projection, good scent trail. It is from Creed, so you're getting a very high quality fragrance here. Very refined, It's called Royal Oud, you know, you're getting the whole shebang when you go with Creed. But besides just Creed, there's also Armani Privé Royal Oud, which I have not smelt it myself, but I have heard wonderful things about it. It's a very, very warm type of oud fragrance with rose and saffron. So saffron gives a little bit of spiciness. The rose, similar to oud satin mood, smooths out that muskiness of the oud. Gives a little bit of sweetness, not too much, more of a natural freshness to it. But from what I've heard, this Armani fragrance is very high quality, intense, long lasting, heavy, warm, you know, everything you would want from an oud fragrance. I've been meaning to try it actually for quite a long time. Basically anything that has saffron, rose, and then you mix that oud into it, it's bound to be good. You know, I can't see where it could fail. But the last one on my list is Tom Ford Oud Wood. So another Tom Ford fragrance here. Now, this, I mean, in comparison to the other Tom Ford fragrance, which is the tobacco oud, this is more of a pure oud. Instead of mixing it with the tobacco notes, you're pretty much just focusing mainly on the oud, which I think it does a really good job of. Kind of similar to the Creed Royal Oud, but I would say Tom Ford Oud Wood is a little bit warmer than Creed's version of it, even a little bit stronger, I would say, as well. It just has a nice crackling warmth to it. It's just a very seductive type of fragrance, very strong. I would say 8 hours of longevity. And just, you know, if you want to go all out on the oud, you might as well go for Tom Ford Oud Wood, because it does exactly that. It delivers exactly what you want it to deliver in terms of its oudness. So yeah, just a nice fragrance. And I mean, in general, kind of similar to Tom Ford Tobacco Oud if you just subtract the tobacco aspect of it. So not too different, really, at least not in my opinion. But that is pretty much what I have to say about these oud fragrances. Again, I love oud. I could talk about oud all day. I could wear oud all the time. But that is my list for now, these 5 options here. So hopefully you found this video helpful. And if you did, of course, you can always like it and maybe subscribe. But I make videos throughout the week, so don't forget about those.